Well, I just got done reading An Apple Sleep Experiment, Chapter 6, Overcrowded, and oh my goodness. This chapter, I am not going to lie, as I was reading it, I was shaking the entire time. This chapter is terrifying. I think it does a really good job showing Applejack losing her mind and sanity, and it even reveals to us that she's been awake for 24 hours. Which I haven't ever been awake that long. I don't know the longest I've been awake. I never really counted it. Never calculated it in my head or kept track. But I can promise you I've never been awake for 24 hours. I don't really know anyone who's been awake for 24 hours. I know people who slept for 24 hours, not staying awake. But I think after this video, I'm definitely gonna have to do some research on people staying awake longer than at 24 hours, longer than 24 hours, because now, that, not gonna lie, this chapter's got me curious about that. But what happens in chapter? Well, Applejack's at the hospital. Obviously, if anyone read the story, they know that, or anyone who's keeping up with the review series here will know that she's at the hospital. But those who are just checking on this video now, haven't seen the others, she's in the hospital, and I do recommend you watch the others. I don't know if my opinions hold up too well on some of the early chapters, but go ahead and check it out anyway, because like I said, for those who are new, those who've been watching, keeping up with this, they know. But those who are new, I'll be then after I'm going to read each chapter individually, review them individually, and then when I'm done, I'm going to binge read through the story and review it as a whole, with every piece of information there and all that stuff. Kind of like how I would with a TV show if I was going to review it an episode, when every episode comes out, and then just review it as a whole. I don't know. I find that to be interesting and kind of a fun way to read it for the first time, so that's what I want to do. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this for every story that I read. Definitely not with chapter books, because especially well, I don't know about Stephen King because I've seen the way he does his chapters are different, but definitely not chapter books because I feel like that's probably going to be probably a little too much. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But coming back to this creepypasta, she's in the hospital after breaking her legs, but she does not remember breaking her legs. Which, if I remember right, it's been a while again. I don't remember. I'm gonna say it is. Because really, the main thing I remember from the original story, the Russian sleep experiment, I'm going to be honest, is the cannibalism stuff from it. Some of the soldiers getting brutally murdered, and one of them getting his manhood ripped off. Ugh, that, as a dude, that's just going to stick with you. That and the ending, that's the main things that stick with me from the original. I got to reread the original the Russian sleep experiment, and I think I'll do that before I binge read the series or the entire story. I mean, but I'm positive this is a reference. This whole chapter is a reference, or well, yeah, obviously, because it's called an Apple Sleep Experiment. This is literally the Russian sleep experiment, but in a question in My Little Pony. So I'm pretty sure that's one of the side effects from the original, is they just couldn't remember anything except being addicted to the gas. Here, Applejack doesn't remember anything except bucking the tree and taking the potion, but that potion kept her awake for 24 hours, and I said she remembered bucking the tree. Well, I'm kind of lying to you guys. Kind of not. She remembers bucking the tree, but she doesn't remember it being the tree. She thinks it's Filthy Rich. At first, she thinks it's Filthy Rich and says somebody thinking that they should check up on him. They should go see him. She was thinking about asking about him and even going and seeing him herself. But then this is where things take a dark turn. Before I go there, I mentioned how she thinks about the potion and she can't remember breaking her legs. So she's confused why they got her in the hospital and why they're so worried. And she thinks that the potion should wear off by now because she's been 24 hours and she hasn't been able to sleep. But going back to where I said things take a dark turn, she starts to think that... Sorry, guys, I've been having problems. If y'all hear me coughing, that's just no way I can record a video without it because I've been coughing all day today. It's just sinuses, the weather changing. I'm just going to be coughing a lot until it dies down a little bit. But she remembers her brother is in the hospital, but she can't remember that it was because of the heat stroke, so she thinks she was bucking him. Or that he was probably one of them, either him or Filthy Rich. She does not remember. She doesn't remember it's a tree. She actually thinks it's one of the pony, to either Filthy Rich or Big Mac, two ponies that she's very familiar with. But this is where I started getting creeped out with the story. I was at first with the chapter, I wasn't terrified by it, but I was interested. And then I just couldn't look away from my screen while I was reading. But this is where, I don't know why this is where it scared me, but when she started to hallucinate Flim and Flam being there, offering her a tonic elixir. And then Trixie comes in and mocks her a little bit. She hallucinates those three there, and I think the reason it scared me so much is because anyone who read this, the elixir seems to be the Flim and Flam off of her to get her out of the restraints because she tries to get up. I should have mentioned this earlier, I'm sorry. But she tries to get up. Not only are her legs bandaged, but she is apparently restrained to the bed. Now, I don't know if this part is in her head or not, or if she's actually tied down to the bed because they had to do that just so she can lay down and get rest. I honestly don't know. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know. I'm going to say probably is, because I would not be surprised that she starts getting that violent with her anger and lack of sleep mixed in together, plus the effects of the potion. If it is the potion, I'm starting to go, it is more the potion. Really, I don't want to believe Twilight well, not Twilight. I don't want to believe it's the potion. I just want to believe it's the heat. But I'll explain why with that later. Not in this video, technically, but later in one of the later chapters. Just know I heard a lot of people, as I said in the other one, I'm pretty sure, a lot of people hate Twilight in the story, so, and I even joke about that whenever I see people hating on her actual character in the show, because I know a lot of people are mad at Twilight and blame her for everything that's going on, but again, I gotta read it before I choose a side. I just don't want to believe it to be her fault, because I like Twilight. Honestly, I don't want to believe it to be Applejack's fault, but I have to put Applejack at blame for drinking the whole potion. I don't think she was supposed to drink all of it. But the reason it scares me is because Flim and Flam give her the elixir to help get her out of restraints. And it is heavily implied that it is blood. And what makes that even scarier is not, oh no, it's just blood. No, it's not just, oh, they're giving her blood. No. There is a scene here where it talks about her standing on her hooves, and she looks down at one of her front hooves, and blood is dripping down from it. But in the story, they call it the elixir, because, of her hallucination, she don't even know that it's blood. So that indicates, I'm pretty sure, I'm highly sure, I'm positive, that indicates that, sorry, I felt a cough coming there. That indicates that Applejack killed an unnamed pony in the hospital. And more than likely, that is why she's restrained. I don't know, we're gonna have to find out. Because I'll probably read the next chapter tomorrow. It's only 500 something words, and then review it Monday. Or I might get the review done that Sunday and just get it posted Monday. We'll see what happens. But it's highly implied that Applejack killed an unnamed pony. Of course, though, I'm going to be open to it till I read the chapter and we find out the next chapter, and we find out it could just be her hallucination. She could just be hallucinating the entire thing, like she is with Flam, and Trixie. Which, speaking of Flim Flam, I'm just thinking back to how I wish they were the reason that the farm was going to be taken. But whatever. I enjoy their inclusion here a bit more than I do Filthy Riches, even if they are just hallucinations. Trixie's, though, I don't know. She works here, but really, the more I think about it, Applejack doesn't have many interactions with Trixie. The only one I can actually think of is Trixie's first episode and a little bit of the second episode she was in. That was it. And regardless, I still think this is a terrifying chapter because it shows, in my opinion now, I think it does a good job showing Applejack losing her mind and going insane, and showing the effects of the potion and the lack of the side effects of not having slept for this chapter. No, I'm so sorry for the coughing. But for what this chapter implies, 24 hours, but in my theory, and another reason why I say it's not the potion, for those who don't know, is I don't think it, for 24 hours, as it says in this chapter, but as my theory implies, longer than 24 hours. I don't know exactly how many, because it doesn't give it to us, but remember, I pointed out in chapter 2, when I was reviewing chapter 4, that Applejack had bags under her eyes and she looked like she hasn't slept a little bit. Basically, it just says, she had bags under her eyes. It didn't really say anything about lack of sleep, but I would assume that it's from a lack of sleep. How long? I don't know. But I do think it's either the potion, Applejack's lack of sleep entirely mixed with the heat, or it's the two mixed together. I don't know. We'll find out. People who read the story, they know, and you probably shouting, what's, the answer. And maybe, not chapter 2, but the sequel answers it. But honestly, I don't even know if I want to read the sequel. So far, I'm thinking this is better off as a standalone story. It doesn't need a sequel so far. And I haven't even finished the story yet. But like I said, this chapter is pretty terrifying because of it showing Applejack lose her mind, not remembering anything that happened, thinking she was bucking Filthy Rich, because remember in the last chapter, when she was bucking the old tree, she just saw Filthy Rich's face and him mocking her. So I like how they continue off that dang scene with the elixir is the scariest part, because it implies Applejack killed somebody and she doesn't even know it. And even worse is Flim and Trixie, the hallucinations of them, are saying she killed Big Mac. And honestly, I know he's in there because of the stroke he had. But now I'm worried she actually did kill him. I'm not going to lie, the story, if that's not true, then the story tricked me and making me believe that she killed her own brother. But I know she killed somebody. I just don't know who, unless, again, all that is just in her mind. But I don't think she would hallucinate blood if if it didn't happen in real life, because when the first thing gets on her, the potion gets on her, the elixir, I don't think it said it was red, but she did say, well, it did say it was red, but the first thing it said, it didn't smell right, and it reminded her of a rusty coin, something along those lines. And then it went to the color. And when it got to her hoof, oh my goodness. I'm sorry, but I think this is the scariest one so far. I think this is scarier than just my best friend is a murderer or my best friend goes insane because of, well, really, that's just a, I hate to bring them up so many times, but I can never escape them. Rocket to Insanity, it could have been scary, but they just don't really dive enough into it. They just rely on just having her have dreams and then say that she's losing her mind, but they never show us. This one, I think, does a good job actually showing us Applejack is losing her mind because of her sleep. And this is only 1,000 words. 200 something words. Where Rocket to Insanity was at least 3 to 4,000 words. And they couldn't explain how she was losing her mind. Instead, they just tell us. Yes, I know it's a word medium, but you can still explain in a word medium. And this chapter is a good idea for it. And that's why, and that, I'm just now realizing, is why it's terrifying, because they actually show us that Applejack is losing her mind. She's hallucinating. She cannot remember what happened. All she remembers is bucking the tree, but she thinks that tree was Filthy Rich, and then she confuses it for her brother because she don't even remember why her brother's in the hospital. And she even was wondering if Apple Bloom was there because she remembered seeing her. So I think this chapter is doing a really good job at actually showing what Rocket to Insanity should have showed us. I'm sorry if I'm going on a little rant there. I really don't. Rocket to Insanity, I hate it. It's just so disappointing. But I'm gonna be honest. So far, I'm really liking An Apple Sleep Experiment. I'm not gonna lie, with how the first chapter started, I was a little worried. I don't think it's awful. I really don't. This is the first one I was actually mixed on. But with how it started, it had a decent start to it. I say decent because, like I said, I didn't like Filthy Rich's how he was being portrayed or how he was written. But everything else was, but it was still a nice setup that made sense. But I feel like they could have done some, as I said so many times, especially in the last chapter, they could have just had Flim, well, not, yeah, Fim and Flam, or what's her name, Spoiled Rich, or just a random character and just explain why Filthy Rich isn't there or something along those lines. But really, I think I can now say I can move on from that and just accept that like I can with Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble having their IQ levels be switched in the live action movie of Flintstones. Like when I go back and watch the show, it's like that is a weird decision, but when I watch the movie, it's easy to ignore it and just be like, okay, this is for the movie, it makes sense. So I think I can do that finally for Filthy Rich, even though I still wish they could have done something else, just like I do with the Flintstones movie. For what we got, what we're getting, I'll accept it. Is it good? I'm going to say no, but it isn't bad. And it helps that the chapters in the story so far are just really good and does a good job portraying how Applejack feels in the situation, her losing her mind, and the effects the potion is taking on her, or just the lack of sleep in general. For now, let's just say the lack of sleep. That until we, or at least until I fully notice if it's the potion or not. And no, I mean not notice. I meant to say no. So this story is really good so far, and this chapter is the scariest because, well, it's only AJ. The only real character in the story is AJ. Filthy Rich shows up, but that's just an hallucination, as far as we know. I'm pretty sure. I'm 100% positive that's a hallucination, for reasons because I know that the whole plot. I only know this because I heard the song by the Lost Narrator. That pretty much does tell me that she's gonna try to kill Filthy Rich. Plus, I looked up. I heard about the kill that this one had Applejack going on a killing spree. So I looked up. I don't know the characters that die, except maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4. But even then, I'm not really sure because people gave so many people looking up the detail. It's better when you just look at the story yourself The only reliable source I'd say is mainly reviewers. YouTube reviewers, because if you go, not even that, it's hard to go in on a wiki. Just when you go on a wiki, be cautious, regardless if it's for fan made stuff or historical evidence or just stuff that is completely stuff that is completely fiction. Because regardless, they're going to get some information wrong that just doesn't. That's just you know. So really, I'm taking everything that I read on the wiki for this creepypasta as with a grain of salt. So, with that said, I don't know who lives or dies except two characters because of the fan art that was on there that I saw before reading the story, or not before reading the story, but after reading like chapter 3, I wanted to look up some fan art of this because I was trying to find thumbnails. I looked up the poster so I can get a thumbnail for when I actually review the actual story, and found some fan art of Applejack killing two characters that I will not list who, but I'm not looking forward to. But as I said, this chapter is terrifying, and the story so far, despite my problem with Filthy Rich, is really good. I'm excited to see where this goes, and I hope any fans of this creepypasta are happy, because I know that there's probably some people who like cupcakes. Well, I think people who like cupcakes are used to people saying it's bad, because Cupcakes has a complete mixed. Its audiences and its reviews are completely mixed. You got people who hate it, you got people who love it, and then you got a little bit of people who are in between. I won't say much, but I'm in between it. I do plan on rereading it and seeing if I'm wrong about it, because there is some stuff I really like about it. But Rocket to Insanity, I think there's a huge fan base for that one, and a lot of people are probably mad at me. I haven't got comments on it. I just got one person agreeing with me when it comes to, her hallucinating about her friends or dreaming about her friends. I only got one person talking about that, but I'm pretty sure the 61 viewers did not really like my opinion about it. I don't know. I know there's some people there that did not like me claiming it to be disappointing, and probably people now watching this don't really like me hating on it, but yeah, I hate it more than Cupcakes. I'm sorry, but I don't. Butterflies, I don't know. I know there's fans out there, but I just think it's fine. There's just something that just keeps it from being amazing, but this one, no. I know it's got, compared to Butterflies at least, I know so far it's got more flaws than Butterflies, but I feel like its flaws aren't really that bad. And that's really just because it's got more pros and more stuff going for it than Butterflies. And that's really probably just because it is a chapter story. And I know I'm only 6 chapters in, but so far I'm really enjoying this one. I hope it stays good. And so far, yeah, I think this is the best creepypasta I read, aside from the Russian Sleep Experiment. Aside from that one, if we're just going with My Little Pony creepypastas, this is the best one so far, and it does make me excited for more. Though, if anyone would be kind of telling me, please, is another Apple Sleep Experiment, is that one good? If so, I do plan on reading it for 2 different reasons. One is for, just to review it, because I do plan on reviewing a lot of My Little Pony creepypastas and creepypastas in general. But also for the project I'm working on. But back to this creepypasta, I really got nothing else to say except that, yeah, it is a terrifying chapter. I was shaking when reading the scenes where she was hallucinating Flim and Flam and their elixir with the blood and the slow reveal of it being blood, and the indication or the story implying that she killed some pony. Who it is, I don't know. Probably just one of the nurse ponies. One of the nurse or Dr. Ponies or two different ponies. I don't know. I'll have to find out next chapter if it is even revealed next chapter. All I know is this story's got me on the edge of my seat, and I feel like it's just going to get scarier as it goes by because, as I said, I think this is doing a great job at showing Applejack lose her mind insanity, even if it is in just this one. Well, I wouldn't even say it's just this one chapter the more I think about it. I think chapter 4 and 5 do a good job at showing her lose her sanity. In this one, I think this is where she fully is losing her mind. Though I will say real quick, I did notice where she seemed to be worried about Filthy Rich, that she might have hurt him too much. But then as soon as she sees him, she tries to attack him. But one person said that did feel rushed. I read the comments after this. I can see why they say that, but honestly, I don't, because she does kind of go back and forth with feeling bad for him, but also justifies it to herself that he deserved it because, he's greedy, or at least in this one anyway. I'm starting to think that this is human Filthy Rich and he just came into Ponyville and the other Filthy Rich decided to be in the human world for a little bit. That's just me speaking nonsense, really, and yeah. I don't know. I don't know why I made that joke. I just made it because I wanted to. Then I just wanted to reference Equestria Girls because I like Equestria Girls. But with that said, yeah, I really, really do like this chapter. I still think my favorite chapter so far is chapter 5. Just because I really like how it shows the anger that Applejack has. And just how I think chapter 5 is where we see the potion fully take effect on her, or her lack of sleep. And I think this chapter now just shows is a continuation of that. Where it just seems to get worse. I'm not explaining it very well, I apologize. But I don't know, there's something about chapter 5 that I like better than this chapter. I think chapter 5 is the better chapter, but I think this one is the scariest. And I think that's probably just because chapter 5, we had her interacting with Filthy Rich, and then we have the Crusaders finding out, and I really do like how Scootaloo was aware Applejack was losing her mind. And this one, I feel like this one is probably going to have to, in order for it to completely make sense, we got to go to the next chapter, where chapter 5, you don't have to go to the next chapter for it to make sense. It's just like, makes sense on its own, plus after reading the other 4 chapters, which wouldn't take long because they're only like 400 to, I want to say 900 words, which isn't really that long. This one, though, I feel like it's probably going to be like where, you can combine this chapter and the next chapter together. We'll just have to wait and see. Until then, I think I've said enough. This video is already 28 minutes. It seems like I have more and more to say and more to talk about as it goes on because, well, obviously that makes sense. That's the natural progression. The more you read it, you get more answers and more of the story is revealed to you and all that stuff. So I'm excited. To see where this goes. Until then, this is the Gaming Reader. I really like this chapter. It's terrifying and it's amazing. I can't wait to read the next one. Until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out and God bless y'all.